love language is wedding flat lays, and I wanted to make a video about tips and tricks and things you can do when you're photographing flat lays to make your photography pop. So if you're also a wedding photographer, make sure to hit that subscribe button because I come out with new videos every week for wedding photographers on how to book more weddings, photograph weddings, and the business side of wedding photography also. You're styling your wedding flat lay to pick 3 colors. So there's something about the 3 color rule that really makes things pop. When you get to 4 colors or 5 colors, I feel like it does get a little bit messy, and 2 colors is not enough. So what I mean by that is you want to pick 3 colors in your brain, in your mind when you're styling. One is for the background, and I have other videos. Last week's video is about how to pick the background. Second color is really the color of the invitation suite and or like the text on the invitation suite. And then a third color is kind of like an accent color for the flowers and like the things you're putting in the corners and the small items that are really like an accent to the photo. So something about the human eye with 3 colors really just makes things more intricate, and it's not overwhelming to the eye. Okay, a second thing you can do is you need flowers. So I usually email the wedding planner asking if they would like to be a part of the styling process, and also if they have a florist that has extra florals that can be dropped off early on the wedding day before, for the details. If they don't, so I usually ask to know if they do or if they don't. I ask for like a photo of the bouquet, and I honestly just bring some flowers that I get from like the grocery store. Or I've done like a wedding where we were like out in a random field, and so I just went outside and cut a bunch of flowers from the field and then used that. I do say if you're gonna do this, try to get the flowers as close to the bouquet as you can. So a photo of the bouquet or the design for the arch is really helpful. And don't use fake flowers, because I've done that before thinking that it won't really be a big deal. But you can tell the difference most of the time between real and fake flowers in the flat lay, because the fake ones just kind of don't have like any give to them, and they just don't look the same when you actually get the rest of the gallery done with the actual real flowers. Okay, number 3 is my unpopular opinion. Don't come for me in the comments. Shoot the flat lays at an aperture of 8 or 9. Yes, 8.0 or 9.0. This is something that has changed the game for my wedding photography flat lays, and it's something that I wish I knew sooner. So when I was first photographing weddings, I learned, the lower the aperture, the better. The more bokeh you have in the background, the better the lens, the lot lower you can go. All of that is true, in some ways. A lower aperture is a better photo in some ways. When it comes to details, put all of that knowledge and put it in the trash, because how you get things to actually pop is when they're in focus. So especially with the flat lay, even if it's not your style to shoot at a high aperture, I would argue that shooting at a high aperture just for details would really give you that look that you're looking for, even if the rest of your wedding is shot at a lower aperture. Totally my opinion, you can just ignore me. But I have found that shooting at 8 or 9 really gets everything in focus. And you might think, well, our whole, we don't really want everything in focus for the rest of the wedding. That's true, but for flat lays, it just does something magical when everything is sharp and everything. You can see the detail of all the jewelry and all of that. So adjust the ISO accordingly, just high enough to where I can see, start low and then go up, to where I can see that the photo is bright enough to see it in the camera, because at 8 or 9 you're going to get a little bit of a darker photo. I feel like when you're designing a flat lay, there's a lot that goes into putting things in certain places. For this one is to balance the photo left and right. So pretend that there are weights. Every time you put a small item on the right side, it has weight, and then now it's uneven with the left side. And I try to think of it in like a grid of like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you put something on here, it's weighted up here, so you need to put something on the bottom to like balance the weight. So there are ways to balance things from the left side and the right side. It's easy when you're designing the flat lay to just put things on, everywhere to make them look good. But if something looks off, it's probably that it's not balanced. So I try to balance the 4 areas, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure these 2 are balanced and these 2 are balanced. And that just kind of does something to the photo to where things don't look weird or like anything is missing. Okay, number 5, choose a background that complements the invitation suite. So I have another video here on YouTube just about how to choose the right background, whether it's going to be a plain background, painted background, or a design background. But make sure you're choosing the right background for the invitation suite and the stuff you have to style with it. In reference to like the rest of the design as a whole for the wedding. That is probably the most important tip. Because the background really dictates a lot of the flat lay. Okay, make sure things make sense. So, for example, sometimes people photograph wedding details, they lose sight of the purpose of the photo and what you're implying with the photo. So a wedding flat lay, if you're doing an invitation suite and there is an actual invitation with envelopes, then it makes sense to add stamps. It doesn't make sense to add in wax sealer if there is no wax seals. And it doesn't make sense to photograph the shoes with stamps. So just make sure that what you're doing makes sense for the photo, and put things in that are intentional and that actually go with what you're trying to do with the photo. Leave a comment, let me know what your favorite tip that I talked about was for this flat lay video, and I have tons of a whole playlist here on YouTube of videos about wedding photography and flat lays, so make sure to browse the channel, and I thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys here on YouTube.